Hi, this is Arun from arunsyoga.in. I'm a software engineer who mostly work with Node.js, PHP, and other backend technologies. And I'm an open source contributor as well. I'm a tantric by birth in a family which is passing tantric wisdom from generations to generations from past 2000 years of legacy and got lucky to travel across India and got chances to study under various gurus from different backgrounds and disciplines. You could connect with me in arunsyoga.in. Here I'm helping you to design a divine lifestyle which is based on Vedic astrology, tantra, and other yogic system of understanding. In this podcast, we have a fascinating guest whose name is Jem. She is from UK. Here she is sharing her mind-blowing story of how she got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer while she was in Thailand and used the power of orgasm to overcome the same. Also, she is helping others in the school of pleasure. She used to enrich her tantric knowledge from the age of 24, followed with a breakup with her boyfriend. At this stage, where she got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, she decided to use her knowledge of tantra and full body orgasm to fight against her unlucky situation and heal herself. This became her focus for a while, and through this process, she embraced and worked with the healing power of orgasm. I wrote to her asking whether she is interested in becoming one of the guests for my podcast. She has agreed for the same. Yeah, here we are. In this particular podcast, we are digging deep into the power of full body orgasm, orgasm without ejaculation for men and women, usage of sound in tantric practices, near death experiences, usage of herbs in tantric practices, and her chart. She is multi-talented and creative. She is passionate about helping people to connect with themselves through the body, fine-tuning into the subtleties of our life forces, using sexual energy to fuel all areas of life. She is teaching about how different stages of orgasm a man or woman can experience. And from the peak orgasm, instead of falling down, can stay there for a while and transcend this peak orgasm into pleasure forever. Her contact details are given on the link over the description where you could connect with her. After having an hour and a half long discussion with Jem, I have sent this voice record to one of my friend. She is a medical doctor and she has told me that probably the story of Jem might be true because the studies are showing that the couples who are sexually satisfied are having less health issues altogether. However, let us begin with our Vedic reading series episode number 4, Orgasm Forever. So, hi, welcome to the arunsyoga.in. So, I would be really interested to know a little bit about you or what you are, how you do, and what and all you are gone across. I actually saw a video of you on internet where you are speaking about how the full body orgasm has helped you to overcome your skin cancer and things like that. And can you briefly talk about that? What was it, and how does it work for you?
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Yes, I can. So my name's Jem Ayres, and I call myself a sex coach because that's probably the best way that people understand it. But I've been working now with Tantra for almost 10 years, and I trained as a sexological body worker 2 years ago. But what happened after I'd been working with Tantra for quite a while is that I had developed a tumor in my brain, and I had to have brain surgery, and it was a secondary tumor, so that meant that there was cancer elsewhere. and there was cancer discovered in my armpit, in my lymph node, and in my lungs as well. And it was a severe skin cancer called melanoma. And I was told that all they could offer me was palliative care, treatment to hopefully sustain my life, but not necessarily cure me, but to make me as comfortable as possible. And even that had only a 10% chance of actually working. And so I was sent home out of the hospital after a very long time, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, to sit on my sofa and to just wait for a doctor's letter or a phone call. And I just really had this empowered and embodied feeling of, I can't just be here waiting for other people to make decisions about me. And actually Tantra taught me this, more kind of agency and autonomy around my body. But I knew that if all they could offer me was end of life treatment, that there was definitely something that I could do in the spaces in between talking to doctors. And I'd probably heard somewhere about miracle healings and using life force and sexual energy. And I thought, well, right now, I'm not sure what else I can do, but I know I have some tantric tools. And I'd experienced full body orgasm previously, and I knew that cancer was a cell which had just mutated. And also alongside with the research of Dr. Emoto, who looks at water molecules and how they change as opposed in different situations, in positive or negative vibrations, with positive and negative words or music, and how under a microscope the molecules change either into beautiful molecules, those who've been in positive environments of laughter and singing and chant, and then the molecules that have been kept in environments where there was shouting or swearing or negative words, they mutate. And I thought, if my body is about 80% water and my cells, my poor cancerous mutated cells, are over 90% water, then I want to make sure that the water in my body is as positive as possible. And the only way I knew how to fill my entire body and every cell of my body with joy was through full body orgasm. And that's the route I chose. I did a lot of other things. I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle, I took cannabis oil. There was a full spectrum of things, as well as the treatment that I had been offered by the doctors. But they believed that the best that would occur is that 6 months after treatment, my tumors would be stable. But actually what happened was 3 months after treatment, my tumors had massively shrunk by over 50%. And 6 months after treatment, I was completely cancer-free. And the doctor said to me, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Because before that, they'd, disregarded anything that I said I had been doing. And so from that, I realized that I had something of value to teach and to offer. So now through my work, it's about how we can really fully embrace pleasure in all aspects of our life, not just in our sex and our sexual connection with ourselves and our partners, but also looking at how that can ripple out, how we can, if we live life with this sexual energy contained within us, vibrant and flowing, then actually we are generally nicer people. I'm definitely a nicer person. And also that we can make better decisions in our life, or maybe we take greater risks which lead us to better opportunities, and we attract better people, and we can make more money. And this is life force energy. So when we're not using it to create life, to make babies, then actually we can use it to birth other things, businesses, projects, new relationships. So really just seeing what area of our life we can enhance through working with sexual energy. And I call this orgasmic embodiment. So when we really embody orgasmic energy instead of releasing it out.
When did you found, or what was the time you got diagnosed with the cancer?
I got diagnosed with a cancer in October 2015. I was in Thailand traveling, so I had to have brain surgery in Thailand. And by, sorry, it feels like a very long time ago. I've been cancer free now for 4 years. So I think it was April, May, I was given the all clear.
Um, so after you got diagnosed with the cancer and you knew that tantra could heal you, so what was the technique? Can you describe the first technique which you tried on yourself?
Well, the first thing was breathing.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in hospital, it took a long time to recover from the brain surgery. Everything was I was overdosed, I believe, on steroids to keep me safe during surgery. But for the 3 days afterwards, I couldn't lift my head and I had to learn how to walk again. And everything was too loud and too fast. When they were wheeling me in the bed, it was too fast for me. I couldn't look at screens or read books or check my phone. And everything, the sun was too bright. So any of the information I was taking in through my head was just too intense. So all I could do was really be in the present moment. I couldn't distract myself with messages from friends or looking at a TV or reading a book. I was really just having to sit and be with my own experience, which was quite scary, being thousands of miles away from home on my own. But it was really just noticing what is going on in my body as waves of fear come and go and come and go, and how I can navigate my way through that using breath and self-resourcing. So holding myself, being with myself, and just really being the observer of my emotions instead of being in the center, the eye of the storm of the emotions. How I could step back and be more of an observer of my experience. And then my lungs collapsed, so my breathing was down by 30%. And so my breathing was very difficult, very labored. So something I'd found very effortless, suddenly that's all I could focus my energy on, because I couldn't see or hear or, focus too much on what was externally going on. All I could do was sit and breathe, because it was such a chore for me. And I like to think of my time recovering in Thailand was more of a bit of a meditation retreat, really, because I was so isolated away from people and not able to take messages or be distracted. And I was so exhausted in recovery, all I could do was focus on my labored breathing. So that was a really quite an amazing experience for me, because that meant that by the time I came back to the UK and I was surrounded by friends and family and all of their fear and all of their negative ideas and messages around what cancer meant, I'd already spent months by this point, 6 weeks by this point, breathing and sitting and being with cancer and really figuring out what it meant for me. So I was able to be really, really solid in my core and in my center around cancer and how I was going to live through the experience. Something else that occurred whilst I was in Thailand when my lungs collapsed was I had a water build up on my lungs, and they scanned me and saw that there was too much water and that they needed to drain me. And they said they were going to drain my lungs 48 hours later. And I lay in bed visualizing the mist evaporating off of my lungs as I was breathing. And 48 hours later, when they took me in to drain my lungs, the liquid had gone and there wasn't enough for them to drain. And exactly the same thing happened about a month later when I was in the UK. The water had come back. They gave me 24 hours before they were going to remove it. I breathed, I visualized, I saw it evaporating from my chest. And then by the time they came around to drain it, it had gone. There was nothing left to drain.
So
meditation, breathing, visualization, these were all key components to healing.
So why are you relating the breathing with the term tantra? What is
Breath
that?
is the key. breath is the key to tantra. It's the key to consciousness. Breath gives us the space that we need to be able to make good decisions, or to be able to feel. When we fill our belly, we're literally making space in our bodies so that we're less contracted, our energy is less contracted. And when we're this expansive, we're bigger in the world, so we can make better choices and more informed decisions. So breath for me really is the key. Breathe. I say to my clients, if you breathe more, you will feel more, because it allows all of our nerve endings to really just switch online. If we're breathing deeper and more into our bellies, what that's doing is that's kicking into the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the place of rest and relaxation. If we're shallow breathing, what occurs is that we're not breathing very deeply enough. And it's like chest breathing. That means that we're quite disconnected from the lower part of our body if we're only breathing as far as into our chest. Babies, for example, have this open natural breathing system where it's their bellies that are moving, or their whole body. This is an indicator of safety and trust within their bodies before they've learnt or been conditioned to contract or to be in some fear. So actually, we're engaging the sympathetic nervous system by that place of fight or flight if we're only breathing into our chest. So if we breathe deeper and fuller and more into our bellies, then we're already at that place of rest and relaxation. When I'm coaching clients, whether that's individuals or couples, and they want to have a better sex life, for example, I talk to them a lot about their breathing, because if they're not in a place of rest and comfort and relaxation, how can they ever expect to achieve multi-orgasmic? Because for me, rest and relaxation and comfort is step one in the direction of being orgasmic. So that for me is why breathing is really important.
So, for instance, we all breathe. As a human being, we all breathe. Here we breathe, and when we walk, we breathe. When we talk, we breathe. So, what is that exact difference between? What is the line between this is tantric breath, this is normal breath? How do you differentiate, and
So
what do?
normal breathing is chest breathing, and it's generally breathing through the nose. It's really difficult for my clients to achieve conscious breath work throughout a whole session or throughout a whole meditation. Generally, we close our mouths. We don't want to make sound because we don't want to be heard. This is a big thing. There's shame out in the world about being heard, about heard breathing or heavy breathing, or making noises which might sound a bit like arousal or excitement or a bit sexy. So it's all about mouth breathing and breathing into the belly, because that's the place of rest and relaxation. And only when we switch into the parasympathetic nervous system can we then feel more.
So, somebody, for instance, a client came to you and he want to learn tantra. So, how do you proceed that client, and what and all you will do with the client?
I'd get them breathing. Step one, I'd get them breathing, conscious breathing. So holding their hand on their bellies, feeling the breath in their bellies, and making sound on the out breath. And all of this is in videos on my website, on a free stuff page. So all of this is, a free resource for people. But then also I'd get them to tune into what sensations are going on in their bodies, because what we want to feel into is the really subtle sensations, because the outside world is very overstimulating, and we've become intensity junkies with wanting and needing hard and fast action. And we're exactly the same in our sex lives. So a lot of my work with clients is just by getting them to slow down, and instead of doing and switching into that doing fight or flight mode, is to slow down and feel more and be more instead of needing to achieve. So it's all about dropping the goal, breathing and feeling what's there, because we've got we've got amazing sensations in our bodies, but we don't give ourselves the space and time or the tools to be able to feel them. We're all focusing on needing that 10 out of 10 multi-orgasmic experience without really feeling what is going on in the lower end of the pleasure spectrum.
So
And when we
the
focus on expanding our lower end of the pleasure range, that's when things get really interesting.
yeah,
That's when we can let go of the goal and we can just be with our bodies in curiosity and let the body lead. It's a body-led
can I
experience
pursue?
instead of the
Can I
mind.
pursue here? So, what is the first step? Is the breathing.
Yeah.
Next step. There is how many steps are there total?
To what? Sorry.
For a client who comes to learn tantra, is there a pedagogical approach? Do you have like there are 5 to 6 steps? The first step is breathing. Second step is this. Third step is this. Fourth step is.
It's not really that formalized. Tantra is quite a massive umbrella. So learning tantra, my first step would be to figure out what exactly is their intention.
Mm-hmm.
Because learning tantra could be all sorts of different aspects and elements. But what most people come to me is they want to experience more pleasure in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
When people come to me and they want to learn tantra, what we figure out that they actually really want is to experience greater capacity for pleasure in their bodies. So again, breathing, that would be the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Tuning into what's going on, as I've already said, that's the second step. So feeling into the subtle sensations, and then maybe allowing any organic movement that the body feels to release. So when we start feeling in our body, we might notice some contraction or some pain or some discomfort. So maybe we need to stretch, maybe need to reassure a part of our body which maybe feels a bit anxious. So we might touch ourselves, we might massage ourselves, we might hug ourselves, or we might need to get up and stretch and to dance and to move. Or if we feel pleasure, there might be some little shudders or ripples or some organic movement that needs to be expressed. So breath, sound and movement with feeling of subtle sensations. That for me is the key to tantra and to feeling more in your body.
So, how many days a person needed to learn the course which you are offering, like whatever you are offering? How many days usually it will take?
Again, it really depends on what the person wants to learn. If they just want to learn breath, sound and movement, they can learn that off of my website for free. There are videos of that.
Mm-hmm.
And people usually, it's a process. It's not a tick box experience. We don't go, oh yes, I've done that, I've learned tantra, thank you very much, and I'm going to get on with my life. It's a practice. It's like yoga, it's something we do every day or on a regular basis. And I highly encourage people to start at the beginning by really put themselves in quite an immersive or intensive experience, so that we can retrain our brain and our body with these new ways of being and feeling and breathing and moving, which have been conditioned out of us, actually. We're just relearning things that I think we've always known or have just naturally come into this world, but it's been kind of reprogrammed out of us to be maybe more socially acceptable, maybe smaller, maybe quieter, maybe more able to fit into a certain box. Whereas actually we're all individuals and our sexual expression is individual as well. So it's really just learning what is good for us and what works for us. So a lot of my work isn't actually ever telling my clients what they need to do, but giving space for my clients to figure out themselves what they need to do to be in their most pleasure and to feel more in their bodies. And I just give some suggestions and some tools and some permission for that to occur.
So, coming back to your case, you got diagnosed with the cancer, and
Yeah.
you understood the atmosphere could change the molecules which is being presented on your body, and you understood the tantric breathing, how to do that and how it could be used. Then somebody who is in hospital bed, how can they go for a full body orgasm? It's like, you know, I mean, how did you done that, and what was the next step you done? You took the breath and you understood it can clear your lungs.
Breath,
Mm,
sound, movement, and feel. So
mm,
everything I've said, it's really incredibly, incredibly simple. People always want to hear that I did something magical. I promise you, that's all I did. Give my body enough breath, allow myself to express through sound, and give some organic movement, and then allow myself to just feel what's going on. And when you feel and give your body space to feel that low level of arousal, and you add more breath so it can grow and to expand, that sensation can ripple through the whole body, because it's not a genital focused experience. We're not pleasuring our genitals, but when we allow the experience to build out through the rest of the body and not just focusing on the genitals or the goal of trying to achieve an orgasm, then pleasure can spread everywhere. Pleasure can spread to your heart, to your fingertips, to your nose. You know, you can have nose gasms, ankle gasms. It's just really breathing, sounding, and feeling more. There's no magical technique. That really is it. It just takes a bit of time.
I'm not talking about the techniques. I'm talking about the processes which you are going through. I mean, basically, what is the technique is like we figure out something is useful for me, then we will say, hey, look, my friend, this is something which is work for me. This may be work for you also, maybe, right? So, what was that you have gone through, you know?
What was that I did?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, so breathing.
Hmm.
Do you know how to breathe? So we're breathing through our mouth, and
Hmm.
we're letting the breath into the belly, and we're breathing through a straw mouth as if the lips are pursed, sucking in through a straw. And then we're releasing with breath. And we just do that for a while, and we feel. That really is all that we do. And through the process of feeling sensations in the body and tracking the pleasure in our body might want to move, it might want to wriggle, it might want to stretch, or it might want to shake, and you give it permission to do that. That's what you do. And when you feel it, you breathe into it even more.
So,
Simple.
so when your doctor is felt like your cancer cells are getting reduced, and what was your expression with that thing?
I
How do
knew.
how do you reacted to that?
Not surprised at all.
Huh?
I was telling them that the cancer had gone before
Cancer.
they knew.
Okay.
I think they thought that my doctor in the hospital called me a bit of a mystery case. But now my doctor, I still have scans once a year just to double check, and she calls me her lucky charm, because on her first clinic day I was her patient, and of course the outlook looked really bad, but I was convincing her that I was going to be fine. And then, of course, a few months later, I was cancer free, and it was a complete mystery to her. So now she thinks of me as her lucky charm.
So this was in the same hospital in Thailand.
No, this was back in the UK.
So this is another hospital.
Yeah.
So you got diagnosed in Thailand, and you checked yourself in UK.
No, I had a brain tumor was discovered in Thailand. So that's where I had brain surgery. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when they told me that it was a cancer, but they didn't know which cancer. So they were just going to patch me up, ready to fly me back to the UK, straight into a British hospital so that
Mm-hmm.
I could get diagnosed there. And the recovery took a very long time. Like I said, my lungs had collapsed. I needed to learn how to walk. I couldn't lift my head. I couldn't wash myself. And I couldn't see or hear well enough. And then after I finally got back to the UK, I was taken straight into a British hospital. And that's where, after 2 more weeks, They finally discovered that it was a melanoma, and then I was sent home to a third hospital to have talks with an oncologist about further treatment.
So, getting back into your orgasmic experiences, did you done it by yourself, or did you needed a partner? For instance, in tantra, there are things which we could translate. I mean, we could spread our pleasure or the orgasm experience all across our body. There are some tantric practices where men can do orgasm without ejaculation. So it's like he can, I mean, mostly the men, when the men get an ejaculation, he's actually getting collapsed in most of the cases, and it's like a relax. Like woman may not be reached in that particular stage there, so she may not be satisfied with her own desire with this particular man. But the ejaculation happens, the men basically get collapsed, and his energy will, and basically he go for the sleep, you know. So there is a tantric technique where we could have sex without ejaculation as a man.
Yeah.
uh, so how did you done the orgasm? Like, did you done it by yourself, or did you use any medicines or herbs along with that? Because in tantra there are some certain practices where herbs also involved in that. Like in shamanism, there shaman is like it's also getting into trance. They use ayahuasca as the uh, is the tea, the sacred tea for their own getting into their own transcendental state of understanding. And same way in India also, their tantrics use herbs uh, to get into a transcendental state of understanding. So how did you done this? Did you use any herbs along with that, or you done it by your own yourself only, or did you took a help of a partner? He can help you to reach that uh, that level of orgasm, that 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 much of pleasureful orgasm. Somebody helped you to take the, or what was that? How did you done this?
So I call it erotic trance states. And again, I can just do that by breathing. I can
Mm.
breathe myself into an altered state. I don't need drugs or anything else like that. Just through the sexual energy raising in my body, I can get into an altered state. And then through breathing, I can move that through my body. I was using cannabis oil as well alongside as cancer treatment for myself. And that helped, I think. I used that as a plant medicine. So I was constantly being able to tune in, being called to tune into myself and to see what was going on in my body and ask for what my body needed as well. So I think that's helpful. But mostly it was a solo practice. I did have friends and partners who helped as well. But, I really believe that if I can't get into these states on my own in a solo experience, then a partner helping isn't going to be able to achieve that either. Because the first thing we need to learn is how to be in pleasure with our own body, because our partners aren't magicians or psychics. They don't know what's going on inside our bodies. So we need to learn that first. We need to open our body up for its capacity for pleasure. Because if we're shut down, but we're depending on someone else, then actually that other person is always going to fall short, because we need to open ourselves up more to experience and learn about ourselves, and then we can share that with a partner. So yes, I did have some help from friends, but mostly it was my own experience, a solo journey.
um,
I think
so
also because I changed my diet as well. I cut out sugar and I became vegan, and I cut out gluten. Energetically, I was really clean. I felt like a clear channel for this energy to run through, because I wasn't having processed foods or dairy or gluten and things that were just contracting my body basically and creating energetic blocks through my system and messing with my nervous system and my immune system as well. So my body was just really open and clear to energy as medicine.
So did you so doing the trying to get into the orgasm, did you needed is that a sexuality, or you are just focusing on the result, or did you enjoying the entire journey, or something you needed to turn your on, I mean, to get into, what was your turn on sexuality when you are focusing
My
on?
breath. I'll keep everything you ask me, Aaron. It's always going to be my breath. I know this might be a boring answer for you to hear. Next time you ask me a question, see if you can answer it yourself. So when I work with my clients, I
Okay.
don't, if our only way of being turned on is by things that are outside of our body, like fantasies or pornography or our partner or sex toys, then actually what we could really do with focusing on is the sensations inside of our body, and how turn on is an internal inside job. So again, by breathing more, it gave my body the space to feel more, and I could just feel more sensation, breathe into those sensations, and that was the start of pleasure. Breathing, comfort, relaxation, all of these things are the start to pleasure, and you just have to feel it, breathe into it, and let it expand without trying to push it anywhere.
So,
Let it grow of its own accord.
sorry?
Let it grow of its own accord.
Okay.
It's like starting a fire. If you suddenly start a fire, and a tiny little fire, and then you start piling loads of massive heavy logs on top, what's going to happen? You're going to put the fire out. So when you get this tiny spark, you start tending it. Okay, you breathe on it, you give it some focus, you give it tiny little bits of wood chip to begin with, so that it can start feeding itself, so that it's more sustainable. You don't just suddenly go, there's a spark there, and bundle everything on top of it. So it really is just working with your body as softly and as quietly and as subtly as possible. Because that's what we're working with, is really subtle energy here that we're not used to working with. We're used to, the hard and the fast and the overstimulating approach to our bodies. And our bodies are constantly being overstimulated. Our nervous systems are constantly in fight or flight. And then when we start to connect with a lover, suddenly we have to go from this fight or flight into relaxation. And what actually happens is, often because we're not used to kind of training our relaxation muscle, so to speak, what often happens is we just disconnect, or we numb out, or we fall asleep, because our bodies are just so exhausted by the fight or flight, go, go, go mode, that we're not used to being soft and subtle and being with our bodies in that curious way instead of that goal achieving way.
So you basically focus on, see, for instance, you got one orgasm. You want a sequence of orgasm. So you stop there and you start again to achieve the next one, and you just focus on, yeah, I got an orgasm, or like that. What was your feel about that? How does it goes?
So I think, so basically it's not only men that can separate their orgasm from ejaculation, okay? It's women as well. So I would call that a peak orgasm. For men who have orgasms which include ejaculation, that's a peak orgasm. And for women, it may not include ejaculation for the woman, but it's that point of where our arousal builds to a climax, and then we have that peak climatic experience before we drop off and we lose our energy. But actually, what my practice is and what I teach is that we try and find and tune into the pleasure all the way along that spectrum before we get to that point of no return, before we tip ourselves over into the climax. We just stay in the low end of the pleasure scale, and then pleasure doesn't ever have to end. instead of getting on the trajectory of sex that climbs upwards and peaks, we kind of find a plateau state where the pleasure can come and go and come and go in waves and can continue for days and days and days and weeks. It's infinite. And you choose when the pleasure ends, you know, and you can control that. More breath, less breath, you know, and you can live life in this almost kind of, I call it living life on the edge of orgasm, where your body is constantly expanded and you're fueled by that orgasmic life force, but you're not at the edge where you need to drive to that goal of orgasm. So just staying in the lower end of the pleasure spectrum.
So rather than focusing on the result, just transcendent the pleasure. Is that what you mean?
I talk about the pleasure scale, where 10, if you like, is a peak orgasm. So that for men, that's the orgasm which is attached to ejaculation. And it's usually about the point of 8 is the point of no return. So often you could get to 8 and 8, 9, 10 happen very quickly. The point of no return, and then we orgasm and climax. Whereas actually, if we drop right back to the lower end of the scale, what does it feel like when we're at pleasure at 1 or 2 or 3? And for most of us, we possibly can't feel that because it's too subtle and we're too focused on getting up to 8, 9, 10 that we don't really pay any attention to how it is to feel 2, 3, or even 4. And so my work is all about how can you be in that place of pleasure, which is maybe a 4 on the scale, maybe a 5, or maybe a 6, but nowhere near the point of no return, so that we're not striving or driving to achieve anything. So using the tools of breath, sound, and movement and feeling, how can we stay in that place where our pleasure plateaus and waves between 4 and 5 and 6, and then 5 and 4, and it drops off and it builds, and it drops off and it builds. So it just becomes a far more expanded experience.
So, do you have basically people has to play themselves a lot to understand what is the scale of the orgasm 10 or orgasm 8 or orgasm 7? They have to play themselves with a lot, with the breath control and the sound and something like that. Is that what you are trying to say?
They can do, but also they can do it without touch at all. You don't need to touch your body to be in pleasure. This is an interesting idea that we have, that our pleasure is touch dependent. This is not true. Our pleasure is breath dependent. That is true. And what often happens is when we climb the arousal scale and we get nearer to that point of peak ejaculation, is that we contract our breath and we get into our chest breathing and we pull everything in together and we tense our body. So that's a peak orgasm born out of the place of sympathetic nervous system. So that's fight or flight. And what I'm teaching is the opposite of that. Breathe deeper, breathe fuller, expand your body, you know, stretch, slow down. Okay, let's drop into a relaxed state of arousal instead. And when I say 7 or 8, I don't know, they're not orgasms for such, but it's an orgasmic experience. So I think the word orgasm leads people to believe that it's finite, or it's kind of a one thing, or there's a beginning and an end. Whereas an orgasmic experience, we don't need to get anywhere near 10 or ejaculation to have an orgasmic experience. So it's just actually tuning into your body, whether that's through breath, whether that's through touch, tuning into your body and seeing what is there on the subtle end of the spectrum.
So, yeah, we will come to your chat actually.
Say that again?
We will go to your chat. Do you want to share anything over here where I missed something from you?
Oh no, I'm excited to find out what the chart says.
Yeah. So your nakshatra is a Chitra nakshatra. So basically, what it is like a nakshatra. So let's say what is this all about? The astrology or the Vedic astrology or the tantric astrology. What is this about? Is like we get birth in different places altogether, like and the different body shape and different energy spread across the body and things like that. So tantra or the understanding of the energies in our body could help us to design a life which we really want. For instance, you can understand which sound will go better with when you are having a very deep orgasm.
Yeah.
There are a lot of sounds are there, there are ragas, which is lower C, higher C, uh, you know so uh, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, in western, I mean, uh, the sounds in India it is sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da. So these sounds you can actually um, get into this sound by looking at on your birth chart, and which sound will go better with uh, your deep orgasm, what will take you to that particular point. um,
Brilliant.
so that is why it is known as tantric astrology. So basically, once we have different layers of mind, um, conscious mind and subconscious mind. So something which is being imprinted on in our subconscious mind won't allow us to see the reality. So what happens, whatever we see is just a perception, it may not be the reality. The perception is not the real, it's just the perception. The real is something else. So how to see the real? There are some yoga practices which we call it as kundalini yoga,
Yeah.
the Shakti which is being residing inside us, that can be awoken with the deep breathing and deep mantras and yantras and sexual postures, things like that. So how to reach there? So this is like a scanner. This will give you a deep jump into it. It's like a helper, like a map, a road map. Yeah, you do this, you will get a deep orgasm. You don't do this, you will not get a deep orgasm. So this is something like that is what a tantric astrology is about. So basically, once we have to forget the pleasure aspect in order to transcend the pleasure. Once the pleasure disappear, we will see the real. So but as a human beings, we will be always cling to the pleasure aspect. We can't come out from the pleasure without going through pleasure completely, because you don't know what is pleasure, then how will you come out from the pleasure? So it's a helping hand for you to get deeply into pleasure, and what is that lacking, you can get what you want. That is what the things will help you. So basically
Brilliant.
uh, so I
Brilliant. That sounds great.
yeah, this is like a roadmap. I mean, basically you have to do a lot of experiment with your own self to understand what could be better for you. So but in the
Yes.
case of the tantric astrology, what it does is like, it will tell you, you don't have to do that, you don't have to do X, Y, Z to get into F, because F works better for you. You don't have to try X, Y. Instead, you're wasting your time and energy
Yeah.
into something else. You know. And that also a way of learning actually, because it will actually increase the wisdom of the person he or she will has, because experiments will lead to wisdom, because it's basically knowledge deriving. So whatever the wise people has done something like this and kept it like here. So I would try to read the uh, chat for you. I
Thank
feel
you.
like maybe this could give you a deep orgasm, maybe. Anyway.
Brilliant.
uh, so your nakshatra is Chitra nakshatra. So the document which I have shared with you has a link to Chitra Nakshatra that is leading to my website. There you could see what is Chitra Nakshatra. Basically, imagine there is a circle around you and it is been divided into 27 equal parts. And each equal parts there will be some uh, group of stars. So this group of stars is named in ancient Indian uh, understanding of the science, and that is known as Chitra Nakshatra, and your Nakshatra is Chitra Nakshatra. And it starts with the Nakshatra Yoga. So there is a 41 days of practice, which is basically a Nakshatra Yoga that help you to reach the Kundalini. You know, basically in our body there is a man and woman. So when they come together, uh, it is an orgasmic experience again. You know, you don't
The
need
union.
the, yeah, union. You don't need the help of the other to get an orgasm in your own self, and it is totally ejaculation free, and it's totally risk free.
Brilliant.
So this is something you could reach. So in India we see it as Shiva and Shakti in temple. There is
Mm.
a feminine part and there is a masculine part. So through breathing you could unite this, you know, so you will get an orgasmic experience. So this far I experienced, where I don't need a girlfriend to get the orgasm which where I'll get through a woman. And what it does to me is like it will make me more creative.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely.
I will see how to decorate houses, and it will give me more depth, you know. And when you are speaking about breathing can lead to self orgasm without the help of touching or tools or pornography or whatever, can lead to orgasm. That is true. That is something which I have experienced. But this is really fascinating that somebody has came out from the cancer with the help of orgasm is something like new to me. So I was, it was mind blowing to me. Yeah, orgasm can help you to come out from the cancer. Oh yeah, how does it sound?
Mm.
How does it sounds like when you are a cancer patient, you understood you are a cancer patient and your mind is like, oh, I'm a cancer patient. So
Yeah,
whether are you gonna focus on the pleasure aspect of the life, or are you gonna think about, I'm gonna die now, so what is gonna happen,
exactly.
uh,
Yeah.
how does it feel? So basically, I got very near death experiences. Like I,
Mm.
my mind will go very deeply. Like it's like my mind. Um, uh, if something is happening to me, it will go very deep into me. So the knowledge of the death or the fright of the death is got stuck on me, and I got alienated from the society which I was living, and I
Mm.
went and sat alone for meditation and just imagining that I'm gonna die. So what is next?
Like Shiva, meditating on death.
Sorry?
Like Shiva, sitting
Huh.
in the crematorium, meditating on death.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
one of the aspects of tantra.
Yeah,
Death.
Yeah, near death. Yeah, it's feeling the death, and it will give a kind of, depth to the life. So when you are getting the cancer, um, and for instance, what was the state of your mind in that particular moment? Are you gonna focus on pleasure, or what was that? This is something I was very, very curious about.
Mm.
uh,
So to begin with, it was shock, real
mhm.
shock. You know, I wasn't even really sure what was going on. It felt like everything I'd ever planned in my life was now completely the table in front of me was wiped clean. Basically, I had no plans. And again, an aspect of tantra is how do we stay really present in the moment, and that, you know, there only is now. And that really taught me, cancer really taught me, there really is only now. All of these ideas and thoughts I had about tomorrow, well, that's not happening yet. So it just kind of cleared the decks for me to design my own life, if you like, or design what my day would look like or my week would look like. I suppose after shock came the fear. And so using breathing techniques and meditation techniques to really stay in my body and come back to what is happening to me right now. And I noticed that the fear wasn't actually about the now and the current moment. The fear was about the what if, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in a week, what's going to happen, you know, what if this doesn't work, what if that doesn't work, you know, am I going to die? All of these were questions about the future, and I just kept using the breath and coming back to right now and going, what is truthful in me right now? I'm feeling okay, I'm safe, I'm in bed, my body's not in pain, so I can celebrate that and have gratitude for that, and completely staying with what is present in the moment. And if you just stay present in what's going on, then you can realize that you have a lot to be thankful for in this world. So I then moved into joy, being really thankful for everything that was going on for me at that moment, and finding ways to keep myself in that place of joy, whether that was dancing, singing, chanting, yoga, you know, hula hooping, or orgasmic breath work, sex. So how can I fill myself with as much joy as possible? And that's when I turned to tantric practices and orgasmic breath work.
Yeah, there is something. So here there is Nakshatra Yoga. I have attached a video along with that. So
Thank you.
this will help you to evoke the Kundalini. So basically, what the Kundalini does is like, once it start to evoke, it will start to accelerate your own prana, and you will see the intensity of the life which is totally changing. It's a kind of occult yoga. The Kundalini is not
Mm.
a general yoga. So people are practicing the Kundalini yoga so intensively sometimes, but the Kundalini is not for the householders or the
Yeah.
whoever. So this is because this is the occult yoga. This will give you immediate result, like orgasm 10. It will take you from no trends on nothing, just
Yeah.
orgasm 10. It will be like, it sounds like, it's taking ayahuasca without a shaman. It will looks like that. So but this particular kind of yoga for your nakshatra suits you very better. So you can use that particular yoga for, try it for almost 41 days, and it
Mm-hmm.
will accelerate your own life force, and it will awoke your kundalini, and you can observe what is happening around you. So one of the important thing which I saw about the Kundalini yoga, I would like to share this story also, because people are so many friends of me also asking me about the Kundalini yoga. So this story, it is happened in Tiruvannamalai, where I met a woman. She goes uh, abnormal sometime. She is normal always, and she goes abnormal sometime. So what happened in her life? She went and met a yogi in Himalaya, and this particular yogi has taught her a technique to evoke the Kundalini energy. But he didn't taught her how to control it. And she started to practice it. And the Himalayan yogis, once you found somebody, he will disappear. You may not be able to meet him again because they don't use internet, they don't use phone, they some of them don't even use the dress also. They are naked,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. So people call them
Yes.
as Agori, and she was not able to figure him again. And I met this woman, and she goes abnormal sometime, no idea what she is talking about, and nobody was able to help her till today, because it's not the problem, it's not a psychological problem, it's a spiritual problem.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something goes from the psychology to spiritual aspect of the existence. So the Kundalini yoga which suits you best is this. There is a kriya also associated with the yoga which I've been shared with you. There is a video of the same is there. You could go through and you can understand. And if you have any question, you could write to me. Um, then there are paksha. Um, Hold on. So there are two kind of paksha, Krishna paksha and Shukla paksha. So based on Krishna paksha and Shukla paksha, there are two birds, Krishna paksha bird and Shukla paksha bird. So this bird is what happens is like you could actually relate it to this particular bird very easily, and you show the um, nature of this particular bird, and your bird is crow. So there might be an experience in your own self in which you dreamed about crow, or crows are making some kind of uh,
I
mostly
can I can hear crows now in my garden.
so did you saw any dreams of crow, or do you have any?
Oh, not that I can recall straight away, but I've got a sense that there's something crow-like in the background that's gone on for me. It might drop in over time.
So your bird is a crow,
That
uh,
resonates, yeah.
and the kovalam is your tree. Okay, when you expand
What is?
kovalam, the bilvam, beel tree, stone apple, wood apple.
Mm-hmm.
You know wood apple. So this is the tree which resonate you. Like when you get orgasm, if you learn how to transcend that into expansion of spiritual self, you can actually understand you are not just the body is something like a shell and it's collapsed and you are expanding. So this
Mm-hmm.
particular tree will give you a deep connection to you. The soul of this particular tree can easily connect with you, and you can easily talk with it, and you can, it's like your partner. You can talk to that and you can understand what is going on. you know it's like it's resonate you, so you can worship this tree. In India, people worship trees. This is the reason.
Yeah. I don't think we have a stone apple tree in the UK, but I'm going to do my research about this.
So see whether it will grow in UK.
Yeah.
So basically, what the rishis has done is like they went near to trees and they spoken to the trees. You can speak to trees, you
Yeah.
know.
I speak to trees.
Yeah, it's not the sign of craziness. It's a sign of appreciating life.
Yeah.
Society think is a sign of craziness, some people, but no. It's a sign of appreciating your life. It's a sign that you are appreciating your life. If you can talk to tree, if you can talk to birds, you know. So this is wood apple is your tree which you could talk with,
Mm-hmm.
and your nature is asura nature. There are three kind of nature is there: men, human nature, deva nature, and asura nature. Asura nature is something to do with um, demon. Asura is the English word translation is demon. So demonic nature you have. So I mean,
Like a demon.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it is something you have born with. You don't have to strike the morality against your demonic nature. If you do that, it's actually conditioning you. It will not free you up. So you have demonic nature and experience it and expand it. It will give you another dimension altogether. That will
Mm.
open up you into something much more beautiful orgasm. I expect.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah. So you have a tamasic nature. Tamasic nature means it's a you try to put down things, pull down things. You try to put down people. You try to pull down things. This is something you have to be aware of, you have to work on. I mean, tamasic
Hmm.
nature will not let you to be free and go above what you really want to, so this is something which is dominant on you, though, that you have to work on. This is one guna you have.
Interesting, because my work is all about raising people up.
Maybe it is putting you down sometime, maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you could have overcome it. If you look back in your journey, you might be a tamasic person. It's like if a
Mm-hmm.
quality is there on you, it doesn't mean that you can't change it.
Yeah.
In tantra, we say go to the top of that in order to come out from that. So there are 36 tattvas are being spoken in tantric text. So what is this 36 tattvas is like we have to be become any of these tattvas. For instance, mind, ego, intellect, and self, and Atman. This is five basic principle in mind analysis. So so you have to be become mind in order to understand your mind. You have to be become self in order to understand what is self. You have to be become ego in order to understand what is ego. So that is why there are 36 principles is being taught. You have to be become those principle first in order to understand you. So you will understand, you can be become these 36 principle, but still it's not you. Then what is you? you know so
Mm-hmm.
in tantra, appreciate if you could go on the top of that to understand that thing, then you can, it will just, you know it will just settle down itself. You don't know how to
Yeah.
work on anything. Yeah. You can put it in orgasmic experience where you can go on the top of the orgasm. So basically you
Mm-hmm.
have to get orgasm with all these things. That is what it is. You have to get orgasm with your mind, you have to get orgasm with your intellect, you have to orgasm with your self. So it's basically
Mm-hmm.
getting clubbed with your mind. Complete mind means you are getting a deep orgasm with the mind, you know.
Yeah.
So tamasic nature has been maybe could be gone from you, that we could see in your chart more deeply if we come from this is we are just analyzing your nakshatra.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
So Shakti is predominant on you. There are two nature we spoken na? To get the self orgasm. There are two nature. One is Shiva and another one is Shakti. So getting clubbing together will give you the orgasm for any tantric practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
So in this understanding, your predominant nature is Shakti, and you will be become creative, and the feminine side of you is more. So you will get turn on different part of your body. There are women those who has masculine side is more, they won't get so many uh, they can't get the different pleasure by touching different parts of their body. Usually, you would prefer men who want to play around on your body. He can touch here, there, and make you, special and love you. The the deeply ask what you wishes for, because you have different turn on point on your body. So that is something which says you have the feminine aspect is more on your body. Is that cross?
Yeah. That feels right.
uh, So Vishwakarma is your god for this particular nakshatra. So God is like a is not somebody according to the Christian ideology. There is not somebody who's sitting on top of the head and making this much sin you have done, this much good deeds you have done. There is God in this sense of Advaita philosophy or the metaphysical philosophy. God is not someone who is sitting like that. So
Mm-hmm.
God is basically like, see cross. So God is basically like as a celestial bodies which you could easily connect to. So this particular bodies you can get easily connection with. You have
Easily
any,
what? Sorry.
you can easily connect to.
All right. Yeah.
Pure Land Buddhism. Have you heard about Pure Land Buddhism?
A little. Yeah.
So basically, what they is talks about the Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha is the reincarnation of the Buddha himself. And if
Mm.
you chant the mantra Om Ami Devaya Cream, you will get rebirth in his metaphysical reality. So that is what the Pure Land Buddhism teaches. Uh, so in your case, this is a kind of Buddhahood. What would I like to say is like these celestial objects are like a kind of Buddhahood, where you could easily get access to that metaphysical reality of the dimension.
Mm.
So Vishwakarma is your god in this particular aspect. He is nothing but an architect. He designed the building, houses. Do you have any experience with architect or something?
No, I don't think so. Uh, No, but I have always wanted to design my own home, actually. So I'm not a builder. Someone else will have to do the building. But I've always been fascinated by alternative homes.
See,
So building my own home so that I'm designing it to suit me exactly.
so the Vishwakarma, if you meditate on him almost 41 days, he will open up his own dimensions to you. So you can get
Mm.
access to this particular God. I mean, God is the term which is a cliche which is being introduced by Christianity. There is no God. I mean, that term is a cliche. I mean, when we look at on the astrology and we talk about the God, the God is not a God, like, know what I mean. Do you have any question
Yes.
about that?
No, I get that.
Yeah, awesome. Um, so there is kriya is followed with that. Then there are 12 yonis are there in every nakshatra. So your yoni is tiger yoni. So
Excellent. Tell me about Tiger Yoni.
yeah, so tiger yoni is being associated with uh, sexuality, where you could make deep and intimate connection with your partner very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so basically, you are a fiery person. You burn
Yeah.
out things. You could burn things and you can feel things very intensively. So the tiger yoni is being associated with the fire. The picture I'll send you, how can you perform this particular sexual position, where I can just describe you in my own words, in which your partner is laying down on the ground, you are sitting on top of him, and where he is inside on you, and you are placing your legs, one of your leg on his arm, and seeking inside and looking inside in that position while penetrating.
Mm-hmm.
So this time you could actually feel the deeper orgasm.
Yeah.
Something like you could, have you tried this position before?
I have definitely been on top. When you say a leg on his arm, one leg, two legs?
One leg, only single leg.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so this particular time you could try this. You could just sit on top of him and taking him inside, uh, and penetrating by your side, from your side, um, closed eyes, and observing what is going on in your inside. And basically, there is mantra for Shakti. This time, as your feminine side is more, you could meditate on Durga herself, the goddess herself,
Yeah.
while penetrating him strongly. So she will, you can, uh, because of this penetration and the orgasmic experience, uh, you could forget what is that happening around you, and you can absolutely uh, become the goddess. And
Brilliant.
before that, you have to go through this 41 days of practicing the Kundalini yoga. This will
Mm-hmm.
give you more height.
Yes.
And if you are willing, you could try this before 41 days. Then you could have the 41 days of meditation
Mm-hmm.
practice. Then after 41 days you could have the sex with your partner. And if you would interest to share how does it's happened, that will be something really nice. People could understand what is going on, how is
Mm-hmm.
all working together. That will be a very interesting discussion. If you
Yeah.
open, we could have it. Yeah. So this is basically mostly about your nakshatra.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are coming back to your chart. So one more important question I would be like to ask you is like, did you had the orgasm scale number 10?
During cancer.
During cancer
What?
or the after cancer or before cancer?
Oh yeah, many times, but it's not my chosen ideal orgasm because that's a peak orgasm. That's where the energy leaves my body, so I'm depleted afterwards. So I'm far more interested in the low level orgasmic experiences because they just last longer.
Mm-hmm.
But our mind will often drive us to want to get to the higher intense experiences. So yeah, I regularly fall off the wagon and end up having a peak orgasm, but most of the time I try to stay well away.
First, second, third. Tanu Bhava, Ascendant, Ketu, and Mercury. So Tanu Baba, this is the first house. There Ketu and Mercury is staying on your birth chart. You could see that in the document which I have shared with you. You could see what is that all about. Um, Ketu and Mercury is staying on the first house. Um which means that Ketu is deeply connected to a spiritual aspect of life. This what this planet is does to you is a kind of self-destructive planet, which is staying on the first house itself. So basically, some of the experiments which you have done in your life is maybe self-destructive, and it doesn't mean that that is something bad. It is something which will take you to more spiritual.
Yes.
It looks like self-destructive, but it may not be, so this
Yeah.
is what the Ketu will provide you by being on the first house. In Dhana Bhava there is sun is staying, which means that once the sun is getting activated on your dhana bhava, that could bring fortune to you, because sun is very shining
Mm.
planet. So this planet will make you rich, or you will get
Excellent.
so in tantra what we believe is like spiritual liberation needed financial liberation.
Yeah.
It's like in Bible they teach you can't hold the money and gold together, you know
Mm.
but it is completely opposite. You can't, because you can't seek God with an empty stomach.
Yes, indeed. I'm a believer in that for sure.
You can't seek experience when you are with an empty stomach. You will be working on filling your stomach rather than that of seeking experiences. So you need a financial stability. That is why the Kundalini yoga is being prescribed in Tantra, because it will make you more aware, more wise, or more intelligent what happens is like it will slowly bring it can make what you want in your life with that. So sun is staying on the second house, so sun can make you rich, and Venus is on staying on third house. So Sagaja Bhava, Venus is the planet which is responsible for the all the pleasures which life can offer, like sex, the better experiences, the drugs and sort of stuffs. It's all the planet Venus is offering. So basically, this planet Venus is staying on the third house. It simply means that the sexuality and the herbs and all those things are part of your life. Even if you, um, um, is there any maybe some experiences which you feel regretting, even though uh, took you to there, because the planet Venus want to play on you, because it's not your fault, the planet want to do that to you, because that is
Mm-hmm.
how you designed. So your life need to get that experiences, and
Yes.
this will liberate you. So in seventh house there is Rahu is staying. Rahu is the house of relationship. So Rahu, the basically the Rahu is staying on the seventh house, is means that you might get multiple relationships. You can't stick with the a single man may not be enough for you. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
will get, I mean, maybe I'm sorry, my English language is not that good to communicate what I'm feeling by
I
looking
think you're
around.
perfect.
But yeah, so the Rahu is staying on the seventh house, which simply means that there will be multiple relationships will be in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You can't simply believe a single man. Maybe there is taruma experiences which is happened in your life with early times in your life. Stuffs like that made you to get into this kind of mindset. This is because of the Rahu is staying on the seventh house, and this is because the planet is playing on you. I mean, that is how you design. There is, I mean, that is how it is. uh, you have something to say on this, or how do you see that
Like that
option?
sounds pretty true, having different relationships, multiple relationships, and not settling for one partner. Yep. Yep. And the needing, the before when you said about needing financial stability as well, I've often been quite fortunate actually. And, but yep, I think financial stability is something that I need. Um, so yes, this is all
you
resonating.
you could be quite fortunate because sun is staying on the Dhana Bhava. Sun is the
Brilliant.
planet of the, yeah, that's what I said to you.
Yeah.
Like once the sun is getting activated over there, it will bring you good luck. We will see when the sun
Mm-hmm.
activated on, we will try to see in what particular time period the sun was active and what was it done to you. We could see that is called the desha and antardesha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in 11th house there is moon and Saturn is staying. uh, so this is the outcome. Moon is the planet which has to do with your mother, And the Saturn is the planet that has to deal with your hard work, and this is staying on the 11th house, which is responsible for the outcome of what you are. So what I could see is like, there has to there is something you have to deal, you have to settle with your mother, and
Mm-hmm.
there is something hard work which is being involved into that particular direction. So that is something which I could see from your chart. And in Vyaya Bhava, there is Jupiter is staying. And this is something which is very interesting, because all these planetary combinations will bring you uh, wisdom. And that is very, I mean, that is something which people are seeking for, and that is something which people are, want to get into, the wisdom will make you more perfect.
Mm. Lovely.
Yeah. Um, let's go to Mars. So Rahu and Jupiter. So what happened is like 3.5 plus 18, which means that 21.5 at the age of 20. Now, right now you are 37-year-old. At the age of 20, till the age of 21.5, there was Rahu was very much active in your planet, in your chart, which means that where Rahu is staying on the seventh power, with the time of 20 to 25, there is a kind of relationship which went through in your life that totally changed and is given you very traumatic experiences altogether. And that is
Yeah.
would you would you if you okay, would you like to share that with the
Yeah. I'd
uh,
had a few partners or relationships before then, but my first real love was when I was about 23 till I was 25. And he's part of the reason I started doing this work, because we were physically not very compatible, even though I really loved him and I found him really attractive and my heart was connected to him. Our sex life wasn't working, and eventually we split up because of that. And I had to go on a big soul searching mission and eventually found tantra. So yeah.
so right now the Saturn is staying on you. I mean, the Saturn dasha is which you are right now into, uh, which actually means that after the age of 25 you could have gone through very turning away. I mean, life has hit you very hard
Mm.
from the age of 25 there, because there is this Saturn is staying on your chart, which I could see, and
Before
that's
25.
after 25.
Okay.
So this is where you get very hard experiences with your life, like the problem with the money and sex life and relationships and your diseases, stuffs like that came across. And now 20 18 plus 16, okay. 14, 34, 34, 34, 35, 37.5. Saturn. 37.5 till 40. So this is very really tough time for you because Saturn is on its top. So to come out from this particular situation, you have to get an opening with your God, who is the architect, and there is a mantra uh, which is um, which is related to your God. That is Vishwakarma. Om Vishwakarmaya Namaha.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing will get a connection with your God.
Thank you.
And 32 Venus. So 36.5, 39.5, 40, 42 plus 1, 43. Till the age of 43, it will be very tough for you.
Mm-hmm.
And from then onwards, the Venus will come into your Andardasha along and with the Sun. So this time, your after the 43, your financial stability and stuffs will be get solved. So Sun will get more activated in your Dhana Bhava. And that is something related to your father as well.
Mm.
So one clue which I could see is like it has to do something with your father.
My financial insecurity
Dhana
or my
Bhava.
just hardship.
Your father is alive or?
Yeah, he's alive.
So your financial insecurity and sort of stuff can be get solved with the help of your father.
Okay.
Or if you, I mean, Sun is staying on the second house, and that is a clue of your father also, and that is very good planet which is positioned very good in your chart on the Dhana Bhava. That is very interesting aspect.
Thank you.
So you have any questions?
No, that all sounds good. Thank you.
So do you want to share anything to someone who is seeking a more pleasureful sexual life, or something which is more?
Take your time, slow down, don't focus so much on your genitals, breathe more, and let curiosity lead the way, so that we're not so based on the old habits of touch that we've learnt, or the old beliefs that we have around what sex needs to look like or feel like. That's my advice.
So can you pitch yourself if somebody want to come to you? Or
I've got a website.
yeah.
People can get in touch with me, www.gemayres.co.uk. That's GEMAYRES.co.uk. and I do online sessions as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you, Aaron. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to my podcast. You could connect with me in arunsyoga.in, where you could see my contact details, including my phone number, my WhatsApp, and email ID. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes.